Okay, welcome to High Cheese with Darren Maloney. Today is Monday, May 2nd, 2022. And Nancy Pelosi visited Ukraine over the weekend and gave Zelensky our utmost commitment. Now, you talk about irresponsibility, and this is why I'm talking about this again today. I mentioned in my last episode about this additional $33 billion that the U.S. wants to send to Ukraine. And $20 billion of that is for the war. So what happened between a little over a month ago that the United States passed its budget and budgeted $16 billion for Ukraine? So what happened between 6 weeks ago and today, where you had to double the commitment? So what happened in these 6 weeks, 8 weeks, whatever it was? And I want to know what happened in these 6 weeks. Look, I'm from New Jersey, and I got a good sense of when we're getting played here. And I'm concerned we're getting played by the Ukrainians. Every time we hear from a representative of the Ukrainian government, we need more, we need more. Well, how much more do they need? You know, my feeling is they're not going to stop until we have everything, until we commit troops on the ground. And I think that's the game they're playing today. Keep on giving me more. Keep on giving me more. So what I want to do is I want to switch to Alexandra Ustinova. Now, Ustinova is a member of the Ukrainian parliament. And she's just typical of what we hear. We need more, more, more. But what don't you hear from them is that every dollar and every commitment that we give to Ukrainian extends the war, gets Ukrainians killed, and increases the probability of us having American boots on the ground. So let me go to this clip, and then we'll discuss.
Before I let you go, I just want to hear your comments when it comes to this aid package that the president announced yesterday, $33 billion in aid. I know that you tweeted out support about this aid. We're already seeing the Russian army stalling in the east as well. How incredibly important is it to get this aid package passed and to the Ukrainian people and the Ukrainian fighters?
Helps us keep fighting. But unfortunately, I will also tell you, we will have to ask for more. The 20 billion that we're talking about, the military aid that will be coming to Ukraine, is to keep us for less than 3 months. Ukraine has been spending 7 billion per month on military and security, besides all those weapons that we kept getting for free from other countries. So unfortunately, if the war is not over within this 2 or 3 months, we will be asking for more help to back up Ukraine in their fight for democracy.
So it's never enough. Ukraine is spending $7 billion a month on the war. And the money we just gave them, the $33 billion, will only get them through 3 months. And if this war isn't ended, it's another $33 billion. So listen, before we make that first commitment to this kind of money, we need an end game. We need to know when an end game is. Now think about it as a business. You're going to hand somebody over $33 billion. You want to know what you're going to spend it on and what your end game is. Would you really give it to somebody that doesn't know when this is going to end? And the further we get into this, it makes it harder for us to get out of it. Because you think about it. Say it lasts for 6 months and they want another $33 billion. Now the narrative is, oh, we already gave them nearly $50 billion already. What's another 33? And what I mean by 50 billion is the 33 billion plus the money that we have already provided to Ukraine. And then the next argument is, well, we've already given them close to 100 billion. Let's put troops on the ground. See, this is never ending. And what I find really disturbing is nobody knows what victory is. So if I'm going to give you this kind of money, you tell me what is a victory. And what I find really irresponsible is that you've got elected officials that don't even know what victory is, yet they're going to give money to Ukraine. And I find that really immoral. I find it tremendously immoral because the United States position is that, well, we're going to give you enough just to make Russia weaker. It's not about you. It's not about your country. We just want to weaken Russia. And if your people get blown up and if your people get killed, it's terrible. We'll give you some humanitarian aid to make us feel better. But this is the United States position. And it makes it much more immoral when an objective is not clearly defined. And with that said, I'm going to switch you to a clip from a Republican representative, Michael McCaul. I forgot what state he's from. And I was just shocked. He was asked about Ukraine winning and what is a victory. And you got to hear him hem and haw over this. And I think this is from George Stephanopoulos this weekend. So let's go to the clip and then we'll come back.
I think they can win it, but we have to give them the tools to do it.
I was just going to ask you that question. Do you think they can win the war? And I guess I'll follow up by asking, what does winning mean?
Well, you know, the narrative initially, George, was it'd be over in 4 days. And now the narrative is everyone I talk to, and I've been to the region twice, they can actually win this war. And I think that should be the goal. Win. I think a win would be to go on the offensive in Donbass with this artillery we're giving them, the howitzers, and these lethal drones, and push them out. They're trying to also bomb Odessa. This is an attempt to seal off the Black Sea, all the way from, the Donbass, Mariupol, Crimea to Odessa, and then cut off the Black Sea and choke Ukraine. We have to stop that.
It was funny. I don't think that Macaulay was ready for that question from Stephanopoulos, because right before it, you heard him choke on his words when he first started. So I think this was a surprise to him because no politician today wants to answer that question. And Macaulay goes on about, well, a win is all about the narrative. And what a narrative is a story. So if we can sell you a story on what a win is, we'll keep on sending money to Ukraine to get these people killed. Now, he then tries to refine it a little more about, we'll use it to push them out of the Donbass region. And then we'll try to prevent them from encircling Ukraine. And the funny thing is that even if you pushed Russia out of Donbass, and even if they did not get Odessa, Russia controls a heck of a lot of land. How could that possibly be a victory? Other than what Macaulay is trying to say, this is all about weakening Russia. Why don't you just come out and say that? We're just using Ukraine as a tool to weaken Russia. And there's two things I said in my last episode. You want to stop this war? Stop Russia natural gas from being pumped to Germany. Now, they're giving you a head fake right now. All the headlines are trying to say, Germany's considering not taking oil from Russia. No, it's natural gas that's the important thing to Germany. If Germany cuts off Russian natural gas, this war will end a lot sooner than later. Additionally, what I would do, start reducing the aid for Ukraine. Cut back on this package. Say, look, you're not going to win. Go to the table and sue for peace. Because I think the most immoral thing to do is to keep this thing going. To give Ukraine just enough to keep themselves getting killed. Because take a look at this map here. No one wants to show you the map and the territory that Russia has right now. And the territory that's being fought. Now, I think it's in Kherson. They've already set up Russian supermarkets, an interim municipal administration. And, I'm looking at this right now, and I'm looking at Russia controls, I would say, about 20% of the land territory. And let's put this in perspective. It's the equivalent here of the Russians controlling most of the western part of the United States. California, Oregon, Washington, Nevada, New Mexico. So you think about that. That's a victory, allowing Russia to keep Western United States. And I understand where Ukraine's coming from, but at some point, they have to realize that this is as good as it's going to get. And when you add on to the fact that you're escalating the probability of nuclear war. Now, also, Senator Menendez made an absurd comment about this money going there. He said that this will prevent U.S. troops on the ground. How do you figure that? I don't know if you remember all the experts going into this war, and I agree with them, that Russia does not have the capacity to take the entire country and hold it. Just does not have the military capacity to take it over, particularly if they're an unfriendly government and this turns into a guerrilla war, which it probably would, particularly in Western Ukraine. So why is this preventing American boots on the ground or American involvement? Because if they can't hold Ukraine, they're not going to attack any of the NATO countries. They don't have the capacity to do that. So I don't know where Menendez is coming off says this is keeping American troops from entering the war. All you're doing is just increasing the probability of a nuclear war. And with that said, I want to go back to McCall's interview. And he makes some additional disturbing statements about nuclear war. And do you really want to go in this direction for Ukraine? And I'm talking about the people of Ukraine. Because don't forget, Ukraine was one of the most corrupt countries in the world. And you think about all of the oligarchs that contributed to the Clinton Foundation. The top money people that contributed to the Clinton Foundation were these Ukrainian oligarchs. And year in and year out, Ukraine has always been in the top of the list for corrupt governments. Why should we fight for that corrupt government? Let's do something for the Ukrainian people. Let's do something for the Russian troops that are getting killed and the Ukrainian troops that are getting killed. But this is totally absurd, and this is an immoral policy. So let's go to McCall's interview, and then we'll come back and discuss.
What would happen if a chemical weapon was dropped in Ukraine and or a short-range tactical nuke? The question there is, would the world idly sit back and watch that happen without doing anything?
What should we do?
I just find it hard to believe. And when I talk to the Secretary General of NATO, their job is really to defend NATO, not trigger Article 5. But in my judgment, that's beyond the pale. That crosses a red line. And I think if that happens, we would have to respond in kind.
This is an absolutely insane position. So if you use nukes in Ukraine, we're going to nuke you, and then you're going to nuke us. And remember, mutually assured destruction, détente. McCall, he doesn't seem to understand the fact that once you start nuking Russia's going to nuke back. And Russia has the largest nuclear arsenal in the world. So you're essentially saying the United States is going to self-destruct if you use a nuke in Ukraine. That's absolutely insane. And there's no qualifications on this. You either go nuclear, you don't go nuclear. And McCall seems to fall in line with Adam Kinzinger. Apparently, he's going to introduce a resolution that gives the United States, well, let me just read it. Representative Adam Kinzinger on Sunday introduced an authorization for use of military force resolution that, if passed, would authorize President Biden to utilize U.S. forces to defend Ukraine and Russia if chemical, biological, or nuclear weapons are used in Ukraine. This is absolutely absurd, what's going on here. We have the ability to stop this war right now, and we're not. Instead, we're going to nuclear brinkmanship. So think about that. You may want to call your representatives and your senators. Say, hey, wait, second thoughts here. Let's have some clear plan on what we're doing. You want to give anybody $33 billion. I want to know what it's going to be used for. I want to know what your end game is. Because Ukraine's already said this is open-ended and we're going to get sucked into this. Now, the interesting thing is China's looking at this too. We're sending over weapons to Ukraine. And you know what that means? That's less weapons we can use in Taiwan. So we've got a $30 trillion deficit. We're adding to it with Ukraine. We're sending them weapons. That's weapons we can't use in Taiwan to defend Taiwan. And now I'm reading reports that China is looking into, or have asked their internal bureaucracy to look into ways that they can circumvent sanctions if they're put on China. Well, all these telltale signs are telling us that we're weakening ourselves economically, militarily, to the benefit of China, or worse. Again, this is what you get when you've got weak leaders. You have weak leaders today. All right, we shall see. You know, I've been watching some of the Johnny Depp Amber Heard litigation. Now, Johnny Depp is an actor. I'm sure you've seen him on Pirates of the Caribbean. Look, he's a good actor. I actually feel sorry for him. He seems to have such a miserable life. But he's suing his former wife for defamation and costing him money because she wrote an op-ed with the help of the ACLU that essentially called Johnny Depp a wife beater. And it wasn't true. And it cost Depp, profits from future movies because nobody wanted to touch him. But anyway, make a long story short, is that the one thing I noticed, though, they had a forensic psychologist, and she had diagnosed Amber Heard with borderline personality disorder. And, symptoms, for lack of a better word, the symptoms of it are an overly dramatic personality and an ability to exaggerate things, essentially normalizing exaggeration, and a predisposition toward violence, in this case, your spouse. And then I'm thinking to myself, this psychologist is describing the Democratic Party. They love the drama. They love to exaggerate things. Perfect example is how they always used to call everyone a racist that disagreed with them, or a homophobe, or a misogynist. And then they're violent. And I look at Antifa. That's their violent wing. That's the violent wing of the Democratic Party. And think about it. How many Democrats condemned Antifa? None, because they have borderline personality disorder. So we shall see with what happens with Johnny Depp. I hope it works out well for him. Because I do feel sorry for him. I know he's got millions and millions of dollars, but that doesn't make you a happy person. That doesn't make you have a good life. So I hope it works out, because she really is coming across. Now, the trial's not over, but she is coming across as a terrible, terrible person. So we shall see. Okay, this is breaking news. A draft opinion from the Supreme Court that will overturn Roe v. Wade was leaked to the press today. It was leaked to Politico magazine. And apparently the opinion says, and the majority opinion is apparently written by Justice Alito, essentially saying Roe v. Wade must be overturned. It's not constitutional, which we all knew. But the thing I find interesting is that it's very, very rare that these drafts are leaked. All this is telling me is the left leaked this to Politico because they wanted to put pressure. They wanted to put political pressure and other pressure on the justices in an attempt to have them change their vote. Now, the official vote's not going to be released until sometime in June. But the reason they did this is they want to put political pressure on our Supreme Court to change their mind. Well, the other reason is This allows the Democrats to talk about Roe v. Wade because this is an issue that's going to gin up their base. So maybe right now, because things are so bad for the Democrats, this is an issue that they need out there right now in order to stop the bleeding. And we'll see what happens. We'll talk later about it. Okay, on Tuesday this week, May 3rd, there will be a Republican primary in Ohio and another Republican primary in Indiana. And I just want to point out two things. The first thing is that Donald Trump has endorsed Mike Pence's brother for a congressional seat. And I think that's honorable. Trump is not taking anything out on Pence's brother. And I think that's a good thing. And I think that shows a lot of character on Trump's end. The second thing I wanted to point out is that in Ohio, there's a very, very tight race for the Senate. And we essentially have two MAGA candidates vying for the spot, and they're splitting the MAGA vote at this point, J.D. Vance and Josh Mandel. And they're both good candidates, but J.D. Vance has the endorsement of Donald Trump. And we want to prevent the rhino, Dolan, from taking advantage of that split vote. So what I'm asking of my Ohio listeners, when you go into that voting booth, you have to understand that it may be in the best interest. It's likely in the best interest of MAGA that you vote for J.D. Vance. I like Josh Mandel. I think he's got a good future. But we cannot allow MAGA to split their vote in the primary, which would result in Dolan, a rhino, getting the nomination. Let me just point out the Dolan family is the family that owns the Cleveland Indians and changed their name to the Cleveland Guardians. What a terrible name. So just think about that. Let's not split the MAGA vote and let a rhino get in. So again, vote for J.D. Vance. I think we'll all be better off. Okay, let's switch to the markets. The story of the day was the 10-year Treasury traded at 3.01% for a portion of the day today. It finished the day at 2.994%, but the 3.01% was the highest it's traded since December of 2018. And related to this, the 10-year yield, and remember, the 10-year yield affects mortgage rates. And the 30-year mortgage hit 5.55% today. And let me just put this into perspective. The 30-year mortgage started the year at 3.29% and is now trading at 5.55%. And it says here, and this is according to CNBC, it says home buying affordability has not been this bad since July 2006, when rates were around 6.75%. So as I've been saying for months now, is if you're a first-time home buyer, just wait. These higher mortgage rates are going to have an impact on housing prices. Now, I know people are saying, oh, well, inventory is low. Well, if you wait, inventory will build up. So that's all I can say is just wait, particularly if you're a first-time home buyer. Let's go to the markets. The markets today, another wild swing day. For example, the NASDAQ was trading as low as 1%, and it finished the day up at 1.63%. But let's start with the Dow. The Dow finished up 0.26% to 33,061.50. Year to date, the Dow is down 9.2%. The S&P also had a wild day. It finished up 0.57% to 4,155.38. Year to date, the S&P is down 12.82%. NASDAQ finished up 1.63% to 12,536.02. For the year, the NASDAQ is down 19.87%. As I said before, the 10-year finished trading at 2.994%. Oil, WTI finished up 0.46% to $105.17 per barrel. Spot gold finished down 1.6% to $1,865.31 per ounce. Spot silver finished down 0.8% to $22.57 per ounce. Right now, it's 8 o'clock on May 2nd, 2022. Bitcoin is trading at $38,621.18. Ethereum is trading at $2,871.79. And XRP is trading at 61 cents. And again, we're in the middle of earnings season. So on Tuesday, May 3rd, we have Pfizer, Airbus, Starbucks, and that's just a sampling. On Wednesday, we have CVS Health, Airbus, Regeneron Farm, Marriott, Moderna, Yum, and Marathon Oil. On Thursday, May 5th, we have Shell, ConocoPhillips, SCOTUS, Dominion Energy, and Kellogg. And then on Friday, May 6th, we have Enbridge, Icon Enterprises, NRG, Energy, and Goodyear. And let's just switch to the calendar, and let's see what we have on the calendar today. Let's see, tomorrow, Tuesday, May 3rd, we have job openings, job quits, factory orders, core capital good orders, and motor vehicle sales. Then on Wednesday, we have the ADP employment report, international trade balances, S&P Global U.S. Services PMI final, the ISM Service Index, and then on Thursday we have initial jobless claims, continuing jobless claims, productivity, unit labor costs, and then on Friday we have non-farm payrolls, unemployment rate, average hourly earnings, the labor force participation rate, and consumer credit later that afternoon. And with that said, I just want to thank you for listening, and you have a good week, and I will talk to you on Saturday.